I just recently quit my $200,000 job at the height of my career with no notice and no backup plan. I had the money, the prestige, and the glamorous lifestyle, and decided to walk away from it all. I'm about to share a story that's going to challenge everything you thought you knew about money and success. Now, before I get started, I want to warn you guys that I'm going to get very personal in terms of my family situation and get into the mistreatment that I received at my previous job. It's shocking, and some parts of the story will be a little bit uncomfortable to listen to, but I just want to share my story as bluntly and as honestly as I can. So it's 2016. I just got out of college making nearly $100,000 as a data consultant and decided to go back to school to get my master's degree in data science and worked my way up to making $200,000 per year. Data consulting was the perfect career for a math nerd like me, and I absolutely loved my job. I traveled all across the country to work with prestigious clients, and every day felt like a thrilling adventure and a new challenge. But little did I know, amidst the glitz and the glamour of corporate success, life had a much different plan in store for me. In March of 2023, my husband and I stepped into the whirlwind journey of parenthood with the arrival with our beautiful twins. From the outside, it probably looked like I was living the dream. I have a loving husband, 2 precious children, and a career that brought in a hefty 6-figure salary. But truthfully, behind the facade of success, I was really struggling. If you guys saw my last video, you'll know that my world was turned completely upside down when my water broke at just 23 weeks into my pregnancy. 5 days later, I found myself in the operating room for an emergency C-section. It was absolutely terrifying because babies that are born 4 months early have only a 50% chance of survival, and those that do survive often grapple with lifelong complications. So my husband and I had no idea what was ahead of us. When I returned from maternity leave, I approached my company's HR department and explained the raw truth of my situation. I requested a temporary suspension of my travel requirements, which was deemed to be essential by the medical experts that were taking care of my children. This was just to ensure that I wouldn't expose them to any potential disease or infection while traveling. To my relief, the response from HR was good. They agreed to suspend my travel requirements for a few months, and this was what I thought a compassionate and understanding gesture from my company. It seemed like they truly cared about my family's well-being and were willing to accommodate my needs during such a challenging time. But boy, was I so wrong. When my twins were about 5 months old, the hospital called and told us that my daughter would need an emergency open heart surgery later that afternoon. I quickly emailed my manager just explaining the need to reschedule our one-on-one meeting that day without getting into specifics. I just said that it was due to a family emergency. The following day, I received a meeting request from HR, and I will never forget what this woman said to me. She said, "Lauren, can you reconcile why you were unable to attend the meeting with your manager? You shouldn't need any more accommodations at this point." Now, when she said that, I just froze. Have you ever been so taken back by an unimaginably inconsiderate comment that you just have no idea what to say? That was me in that moment. And the offense was so minor, it was only a one-on-one internal meeting. I just thought that was such a silly response. Plus, I had already explained that my absence would be for a family emergency. So I just decided I'm just gonna let that go. I'm going to keep working hard for this company so that they can see that I'm committed and willing to work. So skipping ahead another few months, my daughter ended up needing another emergency surgery, and I informed my project manager as soon as I got the news that I would need to use a PTO day and I wouldn't be able to attend the client meeting that we had scheduled later. Now, keep in mind, the only time that I've used PTO was for my wedding 2 years ago. But aside from that, I haven't used it since then. So the next day, I get yet another meeting request from HR, and they attempted to scold me by saying that they've already made so many accommodations for me to suspend my travel, and that it's completely unacceptable that I'm unable to attend meetings periodically. They threatened that if I was unable to travel and attend regular meetings, that I would be fired. I'm just remembering how I felt in that moment, and I was seething. I couldn't believe what I had just heard. I remember taking a few seconds to think the threat to fire me for prioritizing my daughter's health over a couple of meetings and travel. I just said the exact words that I was thinking. I said to her, "How dare you?" I told her that she should be ashamed of herself and that I just refuse to be a part of this anymore. I don't know what response I was expecting from her, but she didn't give much of a response, and honestly, it seems like she was happy that I decided to quit. But I can guarantee you that I was relieved that I didn't have to deal with this anymore. Ultimately, I was furious, devastated, and quite frankly, I was surprised by the cruel treatment that I was receiving from a company that I had worked consistent long hours for, I had missed personal events for, and really done everything in my power to provide my best work for their clients day in and day out. I felt like I was being forced to choose between my job and my family. And in the end, I made the only choice that I could. Without a thought, I just quit right then and there. It wasn't an easy decision, don't get me wrong. I mean, I can't tell you the weight that this situation has had on me and my family on top of what we're already going through, but I just couldn't stand by and watch them devalue what really matters in my life. Since then, it's been a whirlwind of emotions. There's relief, of course, in not having to deal with that toxic environment anymore, but there's also this overwhelming sense of uncertainty, this fear about what comes next. I've spent so long defining myself by my job, and now that that's gone, I'm not sure what direction my life is going anymore. But one thing I'm sure of is that I refuse to devote one more second of my time and energy to a company that saw my sick baby as an inconvenience to them. A company that just couldn't care less about what tragedies have happened in my personal life. I found out the hard way that the saying that most companies don't care about you is true. Through the difficulties of balancing my demanding job with the relentless challenges of my daughter's health struggles, I learned a profound lesson about money. Money, I realized, is a mere tool, a means to an end rather than an end in itself. While my job may have offered financial security and prestige, that came at a cost that I was no longer willing to pay. Ultimately, money only holds the value that you place on it because its worth is inherently subjective. While money itself may have an objective value, its true significance lies in the meaning that we attach to it. For example, for one person, money might represent freedom and opportunity, while for another, like me, money provides a sense of security and comfort. And despite having an excess, I still wanted more based on those feelings. I realized that I kept moving the goalpost on what I wanted to achieve financially, and I was never satisfied once I reached my goal. So I had to understand the value of money is not fixed. Rather, it fluctuates based on our beliefs, our priorities, and the meaning that we assign to it in our lives. Ultimately, money is just a tool that can empower us or constrain us depending on how we choose to perceive it and utilize it. So I decided to let go of the value that I placed on money by just reflecting on what truly matters beyond financial success. I started expressing more gratitude for non-material aspects of my life and set meaningful goals aligned with my personal values. The stark realization that my employer valued profit margins over the well-being of my sick child was a wake-up call for me. And I really had to ask myself, what is the true worth of this paycheck? A question that serves as a reminder that money, when pursued at the expense of our humanity, can compromise our own integrity and self-respect. Just remember that if you're facing mistreatment in your workplace, know that you are not alone. While leaving might not be an immediate option, always prioritize yourself and your family. Recognize your worth and the positive impact that you bring. Your happiness and your dignity matters, and know that success will follow you when you prioritize your well-being and stand up for what you deserve.